On Monday, the U.S. military said it intercepted 2 Russian bombers in international airspace near the Alaskan coast. According to Navy Commander Gary Ross, a Pentagon spokesman, a pair of F-22 Raptors had a safe and professional intercept with the bombers. Fox News reports that the Russian planes came within 100 miles of Alaska's Kodiak Island. According to the report, the American jets escorted the Russian bombers for 12 minutes before the bombers disengaged and flew back to eastern Russia. In 2014, 2 F-22 fighter jets were scrambled after a pair of Russian bombers were spotted 50 miles off the coast of California.
On Wednesday, a Pentagon agency has said that the U.S. State Department has approved the sale of over $295 million worth of military equipment to Iraq for artillery and infantry Kurdish Peshmerga units. In a statement, the Defense Security Cooperation Agency said that the equipment requested by the Iraqi government would outfit 2 Peshmerga infantry brigades and 2 support artillery battalions. Congress was notified of the approval on Tuesday. However, the agency said that the notice does not mean that the sale has been concluded.
A 10-year-old boy with autism was handcuffed, placed into a police car, and taken from school. Video of the ordeal made the social media rounds after it was posted by the boy's mother. In the shaky cell phone footage obtained by CBS News, Luann Haygood can be heard asking 2 school resource officers, "Does a child not have the same rights as an adult?" Haygood told CBS Miami last week, "I felt like this was a power play. I felt this is what you get. You can't do anything about it. We're going to arrest your son if he can't abide by the rules." On a school board authority, the sheriff's office said John Haygood was arrested April 12th for felony battery. He spent time in juvenile detention.
On Wednesday, a federal appeals court ordered Texas to pay around $600,000 to cover legal fees of 2 couples who defeated the state's ban on same-sex marriage. The plaintiffs, Cleopatra de Leon, Nicole DeMittman, Victor Holmes, and Mark Farris, will be awarded $585,470 in attorney's fees and $20,000 in costs from the challenge to the case. The case, Obergefell v. Hodgetts, made its way through the court system and resulted in the landmark Supreme Court decision of June 2015 that made gay marriage legal in the United States.
A massive cleanup operation has been underway in one of the world's largest marine conservation areas. Authorities announced April 13th that around 100,000 pounds of marine debris, including discarded fishing gear and plastics, were removed from the Papahānaumokuākea Marine National Monument. The 50 tons of debris had been collected over the last 6 years from reefs and beaches within the monument, which is located around the northwestern islands of Hawaii. The trash was stored at a tarmac on Midway Atoll before being loaded into 12 shipping containers and sent to Honolulu, where it will be processed and then incinerated to be produced into electricity. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Superintendent Matt Brown said, quote, "Marine debris are not something you can clean up just once. It takes a sustained effort over time. Ocean debris poses a big threat to marine life. Animals often die from entanglement or ingesting it." For Newsbeat Social, I'm Neela Uni.
On Wednesday, Emirates Airline, which is based in Dubai, announced that it will reduce its service to the United States due to a drop in demand to 5 of the 12 U.S. cities it currently serves. In a statement, the airline attributed the drop due to actions taken by Donald Trump and the U.S. government, such as a highly controversial travel ban for some majority Muslim countries. Emirates added that until the start of 2017, its operations in the U.S. were experiencing healthy growth.
Austrian Interior Minister Wolfgang Sobotka has called for the European Union to seal the Mediterranean route. His words come after 9,000 migrants were allegedly ferried from Africa during Easter weekend. The minister told local media that closing the route and securing Europe's external borders is the only way to end the tragic and senseless dying in the Mediterranean. Last year, Austria backed closing the Western Balkan route used by migrants who wanted to enter some of the wealthier nations in Europe.
3 leaders in India's ruling BJP party will be tried for criminal conspiracy over the demolition of a mosque in 1992. On April 19th, India's Supreme Court restored charges against former Deputy Prime Minister Lal Krishna Advani, Member of Parliament Murli Manohar Joshi, and Cabinet Minister Uma Bharti. They're accused of making inflammatory speeches that encouraged Hindus to tear down a mosque in the city of Ayodhya in 1992. Hindus say they have a right to the land because it's believed to be the birthplace of the deity Lord Ram. Hindus Hindus say a temple was located at the site until Muslims tore it down in the 16th century and built a mosque. India's Central Bureau of Investigation alleges the indicted leaders had conspired to tear down the mosque as far back as 1990. The Supreme Court ruled the trial must be completed within 2 years. For Newsbeat Social, I'm Mila Uni.
While top generals have insisted for years that the U.S. military would be able to shoot down a missile launched at the United States, a group of independent scientists and government investigators claim that assertion is highly questionable. These experts say that the military has failed to acknowledge huge questions about the effectiveness of the $40 billion missile defense system they rely on to stop a potential nuclear-armed ballistic missile. The missile defense system relies on 60-foot-tall, 3-stage rockets of its own to intercept the enemy projectiles while still in orbit, a task that has been compared to shooting a bullet with a bullet. According to critics, the problem is that generals aren't leveling with Congress and the American people about the uncertain state of the current technology, while at the same time spending billions fielding a system that may not work.
A fire caused a transmission tower to collapse on a highway in the Philippines. On Wednesday, April 19th, the blaze burned through residential structures built at the base of an Alabang, Muntinlupa City transmission tower. A city fire official said the fire started in the morning, weakening the tower's base and causing the tower to collapse and lean over the South Luzon Expressway. Officials said the fire was put out about an hour after it started and no injuries were reported. Officials are investigating the fire's cause. The city government of Muntinlupa said in a Facebook post Tuesday about 80 families lived in the roughly 400 square meter structure at the base of the tower. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines later said in a Facebook post both north and southbound lanes of the expressway were clear. The corporation called on local governments to support it by removing structures and settlers from underneath transmission towers. For Newsbeat Social, I'm Gabrielle Caldwell.
Magic Johnson appeared on a recent episode of The Ellen DeGeneres Show, and he talks about his son EJ publicly coming out. Johnson stated, "I think it's all about you not trying to decide what your daughter or son should be or what you want them to become. It's all about loving them no matter who they are, what they decide to do. And when my son came out, I was so happy for him, and happy for us as parents. We love him, and EJ is amazing."
According to a report, around 90 landowners in Nebraska are making a last stand against the Keystone XL pipeline. The group, who are mostly farmers and ranchers, plan to cast the project as a threat to farming and grazing lands, which is vital to Nebraska's economy. The group also contends the pipeline will only provide temporary jobs that will vanish once construction ends. Farmer Art Tanderup, who grows rye, corn, and soybeans on his 160-acre property, tells Reuters, "It's depressing to start again after Obama rejected the pipeline 2 years ago, but we need to keep our coalition energized and strong."
Scientists have created a Frankenstein-like molecule that may be key to fighting superbugs. Researchers at the Rockefeller University created molecules dubbed lysabodies, which are a combination of human cells, bacteria, and viruses. The lysabodies mimic a virus in the way that they identify and target bacteria cells. They essentially flag harmful pathogens so they can be recognized and attacked by the body's own immune system. In the study, researchers used the lysabodies to successfully target Staphylococcus bacteria, which can become the superbug MRSA. They said the findings, published April 17th in the journal Proceedings for the National Academy of Sciences, suggest they may have found a new tool to battle drug-resistant bacteria or superbugs. According to government health agencies, superbugs kill an estimated 25,000 people every year in Europe alone. The hybrid lysabodies are now being tested on humans to gauge their effectiveness. For Newsbeat Social, I'm Mila Uni.
Making it tougher for the government to recover ill-gotten gains from people convicted of securities fraud seems to be a task which SCOTUS is willing to undertake. During arguments on Tuesday, most of the justices suggested that such recoveries are subject to a 5-year statute of limitations. This includes the newly confirmed Justice Neil Gorsuch. Under consideration by the court is whether venture capitalist Charles Kokesh must return $35 million from investor funds he used to pay himself and others at his New Mexico-based operation from 1995 to 2006. A federal appeals court ruled Kokesh must pay the full amount. Lawyers for Kokesh, however, say the 5-year window would reduce his payment to just $5 million.
In an interview with Fox News Tuesday evening, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions said that the gang MS-13 may qualify as a terrorist organization. According to a report from the Department of Justice, Sessions has already laid out a plan to attack MS-13, who reportedly have over 10,000 members in the United States across 40 states. Sessions added, "As we have cases and we work them hard, pursue convictions, and we deport people who are here unlawfully, we can devastate this gang."
On Wednesday, demonstrations in Venezuela, staged as the mother of all marches against President Nicolas Maduro, took a bad turn when security forces fired tear gas and clashed with demonstrators. A student caught up in a clash died after being shot in the head. Opposition supporters protested in Caracas and other cities, denouncing Maduro for destroying their democracy and plunging the economy into chaos. According to witnesses and a family member, Carlos Moreno was on his way to play soccer in Caracas and did not plan to partake in the demonstrations. Shots were fired when government supporters approached an opposition gathering.
Civilians in Syria are being evacuated from several besieged towns once again. The evacuation effort was halted after a suicide bombing erupted near a convoy, killing at least 126 people, including dozens of children. Despite the recent tragedy, another 45 charter buses are preparing to carry thousands of people from the villages of Al-Fua and Kafraya. The deal to evacuate the villages was struck by rival sides of Syria's 6-year civil war. The evacuations are moving residents and pro-Syrian regime fighters out of rebel-held areas and into government-held areas. Gender-neutral bathrooms attracted attention after the state of North Carolina issued its so-called bathroom bill, requiring transgender people and everyone else to use the bathroom corresponding with their gender assignment rather than their gender identity. Though the state later repealed this requirement, other states have similar anti-trans legislation in the works. While attending this year's College Union's Poetry Slam Invitational, 19-year-old Julissa Emile tweeted a series of mirror selfies taken in a gender-neutral bathroom in Chicago. That, according to BuzzFeed News. The post, which quickly went viral, highlights the importance of allowing people the right to use the bathroom in which they feel most comfortable.
On Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson accused the country of Iran of alarming ongoing provocations to destabilize its neighbors in the Middle East. As Donald Trump's administration launches a review of its policy toward Tehran, Tillerson said this week that they would not only look at Tehran's compliance with a nuclear deal from 2015, but also its behavior in the region. Tillerson went on to tell reporters, "A comprehensive Iran policy requires we address all of the threats posed by Iran, and it is clear there are many."
The U.S. plans to review the lifting of sanctions against Iran. According to Reuters, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has informed Congress that his department will review whether the U.S.'s recent nuclear deal is in the nation's national security interests. President Donald Trump has directed a National Security Council-led interagency review of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, said Tillerson in a statement. The review will reportedly consider whether or not to re-establish the sanctions against Iran.
On Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said that Donald Trump has ordered a review of the 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran. In a statement, Tillerson said President Trump has directed a National Security Council-led interagency review of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that will evaluate whether suspension of sanctions related to Iran pursuant to the JCPOA is vital to the national security interests of the United States. Tillerson then added, Iran remains a leading state sponsor of terror through many platforms and methods.
The U.S. reportedly scrambled fighter jets to intercept 2 Russian bombers, which flew near the Alaskan coast. According to U.S. officials, on April 17th, 2 Russian Tu-95 Bear long-range bombers were intercepted in international airspace off the coast of Alaska by 2 U.S. F-22 Raptor fighter aircraft. Northcom said that the intercept took place about 100 miles from Kodiak Island after the Russian aircraft flew into the Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone. Aircraft that fly into this zone are required to identify themselves. However, there was no bridge-to-bridge communication between the U.S. and Russian aircraft. The fighters flew alongside the Russian aircraft for a short time before the bombers turned away. The Pentagon said that the intercept was conducted in a safe and professional manner. This marks the first time Russian bombers have been off the Alaskan coast since 2015. For Newsbeat Social from Washington, D.C., I'm Caitlin Mangum.
According to U.S. defense officials, the Syrian government have moved military aircraft to a Russian base. The officials suggested that staging the Syrian jets at a Russian base will protect them from U.S. airstrikes. The maneuver began shortly after a U.S. airstrike on the Sharat Air Base earlier this month. That airstrike destroyed 24 Syrian jets. Now Syria is staging their aircraft at a base in Latakia in the country's northwest. The Russian military uses that base as one of their primary facilities in Syria.